Lee Cronin, if you wanted to direct another Evil Dead movie, I'm sure you could have just asked. Yo, what is up, movie fans? My name is Andrew, aka Noezone, and today I'm going to be giving y'all my spoiler-free review of Lee Cronin's The Mummy. But before I get into that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you like watching movies and TV shows, consider subscribing to the channel. I talk about a bunch of them over here. And if you do, make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. But with that out of the way, let's get into this review. And going into this movie, I would not say that I was hyped for it, but I was a little curious. I stayed away from all of the marketing because Blumhouse is notorious for spoiling the movie in their trailers, but the director and writer of this film, Lee Cronin, is what had me curious. Because I was a big fan of his previous film, Evil Dead Rise, and I thought that he showed a ton of promise with that film. And even though the concept of mummies has never really drawn me in, like I haven't seen the Brendan Fraser ones, I know that's sacrilege. I do plan on watching them before the Radio Silence one comes out though. But I also didn't watch them in preparation for this because I kind of wanted to go in with a blind view of this film and give it a completely unbiased review. Because I know a ton of people out there that didn't go watch this off of the principle alone that Brendan Fraser was not in the movie. And don't worry, Blumhouse did not let you forget that on Twitter. So that's a little context of what my thoughts were going into Lee Cronin's The Mummy. But getting into my actual thoughts on the film, starting out with my positives. First up has gotta be the gore effects in this. Because there were a ton of scenes that just grossed me out, man. Specifically a scene having to do with a toenail. That's all I can say without giving spoilers. But that shit was fucking gnarly. Another positive I had was with the cinematography, but there is a caveat to that I will go over in the mix section of the review. But for the most part, this is a very well shot film. I also thought Natalie Grace gave a good performance as Katie, and she was pretty effective at playing this creepy possessed kid. Oh, my bad, she was a mummy. But after that, I really don't have any positives with Lee Cronin's The Mummy. So that leads me to talk about the things that I felt mixed on in this film. And first up is going to be that thing that I was talking about with the cinematography. And that is that this movie has like 37 million split diopter shots. And normally a movie having a couple of split diopter shots or even just one will get some praise from me. There's just a lot of cool ways you can use that shot. But someone taught Lee Cronin how to do this technique and he decided to spam the fuck out of it in this movie. And I never thought that that would be something that I would criticize in a film, but it was so distracting. Like every other shot is a split diopter shot for no apparent reason. But it goes in the mix section and not the negative because I did enjoy most of the cinematography around that and some of the split diopter shots were kind of cool. But man, did he overuse it. Next up is going to be the pacing. And I will say for a 2 hour and 15-minute movie, it does move pretty smoothly for most of the runtime. Yeah, there are some dead spots here and there, but I thought this thing was going to feel way longer because I remember it was like a month or two ago when the runtime for this movie actually came out on Twitter and my jaw fucking dropped when I saw 2 hour and 15 minutes because most horror movies that I enjoy end up being between 1 hour and 30 minutes and like 1 hour and 50 minutes. Anything over that is really pushing it and you got to justify that runtime for a horror movie. So I did think for the most part this movie did a decent job with the pacing until about the third act where I was really wanting the movie to just wrap it up. But for most of the runtime I didn't feel that way. Another thing that I felt mixed on was the acting because it was really hit or miss throughout the cast. There weren't a ton of memorable performances besides Natalie Grace as Katie. I did enjoy seeing Jack Reynor from Midsommar. I also thought May Calamawy gave a good performance as well. I've been wanting to see her in more things and she does a good job as this detective character. And I also remember her being one of the only good things about Moon Knight. But now it's time to talk about the things that I just straight up didn't like in Lee Cronin's The Mummy. And first and foremost is going to be the movie's logic because there were a couple of scenes that just downright didn't make any sense. And kind of dancing around some spoilers here, there was a funeral scene where multiple things happen that would elicit a reaction from most people, and you get maybe one reaction to what's happening, and also the things that happen in lead up to this event, no one even catches. And the events of this scene have no consequence to the rest of the movie. And I personally felt like if I saw the stuff that happened in that scene, I'd be freaking the fuck out and I would be calling the cops. And also there is another major plot hole in this movie, and that has to do with them getting Katie back into the USA. Because how the fuck did they get her onto a plane? And also every single one of the doctors that were overseeing Katie and let her leave that hospital with her family should absolutely be fired. Another negative that I have of this movie, and it also kind of has to do with a positive that I had for the movie, and that is some of the gross out scenes just get to a point of being redundant by the third act. fact, where this movie's only goal at a certain point is just to gross you out. And for some people, that can be really effective, and there are a lot of cases where that can be effective for me as well. I mean, hell, I'm a fan of the Terrifier movies, but this movie just kept trying to gross me out to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm grossed out by the stuff you're showing me. Now give me a good goddamn story to go with it. And that leads into my next negative, being the script, which I kind of already touched on already with talking about the logic issues in it. But I don't think it works on a thematic level as well, because I don't think any of like the emotional scenes that they go for hit at all. I just wish that they tried a little harder to make me care about these characters a little more and just the conflicts that were going on. I also think that we spent a little bit too much time in Egypt, because every time the movie diverted from the family, I was left wondering, why are we diverting from characters that we still need to develop and like get me to give a fuck about? And also, speaking of the family, some of the decisions that they were making around Katie were just fucking stupid. Like, how many times do the doctors tell you, and how many times does Katie have to show you that she don't fuck with you getting close to her? But overall, I thought Lee Cronin's The Mummy had a lot of potential in the first act of the film. I just think they should have focused a little bit more on the story with this family so that I could care about what was happening, maybe isolate the movie more and make it more like an hour and 45 minutes. And I just think it would have done wonders for making me care way more about what's happening to this family. Let me get to know the characters a little better. Let's forget about most of this Egypt storyline. Fix some of these logic issues that were bothering me. And I think if all of those got resolved, this could have been a damn good Blumhouse horror movie with some really good gore. But with this movie, I was just left with having good practical effects, good gore that Lee Cronin has already proved that he can do in Evil Dead Rise, with a better script in that movie. But all of that leads to this being my scorecard for Lee Cronin's The Mummy, where I would give it 3 out of 5 stars, which is still a positive rating on my scale, but it's not one that I would probably rewatch anytime soon. I would also give it a 6 out of 10 on a 10 scale, and on my personal rating scale, I would recommend that you just stream this one at home. But if you enjoyed my review of Lee Cronin's The Mummy, make sure you leave a like on the video. It really helps out the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content just like this. Share the video with a friend if you think they would enjoy it as well. Leave a comment with your thoughts on Lee Cronin's The Mummy if you've seen it. But that's going to do it for today's video. As always, guys, it's been Noezone. Peace.